Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're learning Bava daf Mem Dalid. We're going to begin on Mem Gimel Mid Beis, 5 lines from the bottom. V'chein beven o bavas. The same din is when it comes to a ben or a bas, which brings us back to the Mishnah on Mem Aleph Amud Aleph. So let's just review this first half of the Mishnah. It says that if you have a shor shenigach es ha'adam umeis, if you have a shor that gores a person, dies, muad misham kaifer, v'tam patim in a kaifer. So when it comes to if the animal is a shor muad, so there's a din kaifer. But according to the Mishnah, when it comes to a tam, if that killed, it would not have to pay kaifer. Chayr means, even though there's a shita of you have to pay chatzi kaifer when it comes to a tam, the Mishnah apparently does not hold like that. And then it says, chayav and misa. The fact that it killed, it doesn't matter if the animal was a muad or even if it was a tam, the din is that you would still sentence this animal to death because the pasuk says, sakel yasakel, and it says, v'chein beven, v'chein bebas, which we're going to talk about now. And Rashi over there says, ben katan v'tinaikis, katana chayav alehen skil v'kaifer kigedayilim. If it kills, it doesn't matter if it's an adult or a child. The din is the same. Tanabanan. O ben yigach o bas yigach o chayim al katanim kigedayilim. So the din is that if it kills a kid, the animal will still be killed. Avola dinhu. Chayra says it's a kal v'chaymer. You shouldn't need a pasuk for this. Hoyel. V'chiyev adam ba'adam. We know that when it comes to a man killing a man, we connect a man killing a man. Therefore, we should also compare an ox killing a person. There's no difference. If a person murders, it doesn't matter if they murder an adult or a child. The din is the same, as Rashi says, even if you kill a child, the din is it's still a capital offense. We don't say, it's only a little child. No, we don't make a distinction between a child and an adult. In either way, it's the same. So, you should say the same thing. It should be obvious that if a shor kills a katan, of course the animal is going to be sent and will be killed. Oh, furthermore, when it comes to a person killing another person, we do not compare a katan to a gadol. Namely, if a gadol murders, so that person is sentenced to death. But if a minor kills a person, this child isn't chayiv misa. We're not going to sentence a child to death, because the pasuk says, as Rashi quotes, "V'chi v'ish ki yakit ish v'lo katan." It's only when a person kills a man, but if a child kills, they're pater from einshin. So when it comes to a child who is the murderer, we do not compare that child to the adult. Nonetheless, we do say that if a person would murder a child, chas v'shalom, the din is the same as we can do Mem Dalman Aleph. So sure, but Adam when it comes to an ox, we do not care if it's a big ox, a medium-sized ox, or a little ox. There's no difference. That ox will be killed if it kills. So so then certainly we should say the same din, that this animal is going to be killed, whether it kills an adult or it kills a child. The point of this is, l'chayro, we do not need a pasuk. Well, it's not true. This logic is flawed. Because ima marta, adam, if you think about a person killing another person, shachen chay bar b'devar. If there's not a din of, if the person wasn't killed, but instead you damage someone, you would have to pay arba devarim. Timer b'shor shenu chay b'dal devarim. There's no din of dal devarim when it comes to a shor that injures someone. Says Rashi, b'nezakim arba devarim shashor pater mehen v'neziku choshev the hashor nami niskim mishalim. Why 4? Is there 5 things? A shor has to pay nezikin, and that's what this whole seder is about, seder nezikin. But it doesn't have to pay for the tsar, shevis, reaper, and the baishas. That's only when it comes to a person. So how could you taka say this whole kal v'chomer is flawed? Therefore, Talmud loimer o ben yigach o bas yigach o chayav al katan k'gdayon. That's why you taka need a pasuk because of that. So therefore, that's the truth. We do need a pasuk. Well, maskana, there's no difference because maskana, there's no nafkamina because the din is that a shore who kills a child, as the Mishnah said beferish, that animal will be destroyed. But we don't simply learn it out from a kal v'chomer because without the pasuk there would be a pirch on the kal v'chomer. I only understand if the animal that killed is a muad that should be killed. But tam and ayin, how do we know that it'll get killed? A tam will be killed for killing a minor. So dinhu, maybe the hello dinhu. It usually should be in the gears of the bach. Hoyel v'chiyev b'ish v'isha. Since there's a chiyuv when it comes to a man or to a woman. So too, ish v'isha, v'chiyah ben v'bas. So too a son and a daughter. So what does that mean? When it comes to an animal killing, we don't care if it's a man that it kills or a woman that it kills. Either way, the animal's going to be destroyed. So too, when it comes to a ben or a bas, we're not going to make a distinction between a tam or a muad. So therefore, even a tam will be killed. Even though it comes to an ish and isha, the kayach is weak when it comes to damage. This is why. Says Rashi, dim heziku mishalman, that if it damages, you pay. We don't make a distinction between tam and muad. So benu bas, you have a kayach in a zakin. When it comes to ben bas, which the kayach is very strong, enu din shol tachlik behen ben tam muad, so it shouldn't make a distinction. So Martha, v'chi donin kal michalimer lahachmer olav im lahachmer muad hachamer tachmer b'tamakal. You're learning a tam from a muad, but maybe we're only machmir by a muad to be mechayev. But a tam, maybe you're pater. The od ima marta b'ish v'ish shechen chayavim b'mitzvus. Term ben avas shepatur min mitzvus. So when it comes to a man or woman, they have mitzvos. So maybe that's the reason why we have these different stringencies. Masha Inkin, when it comes to children, they're pater of mitzvos. So how do we know taka that if it would kill a tam would kill them, you'd be pater. Talmud Omer o ben yigach abas yikach negicha b'tam. It's different gears over here. Negicha b'muad, negicha b'misa, negicha l'nazakin. Basically, we're not going to make any distinctions. And Rashi breaks this down a little bit better over here. Talmud Loimer, O ben yigach, O bas yigach. Why does it say O? So yigach trezimni. It says yigach twice. The riba la negicha lamuad latam lamisa nazakin. So the fact that it says it this way is a riba, is to include other things. Okay. Question TA2. Shorsha. Second. Okay. Shorsha hoy mischachik b'kaisel v'nafel al adam l'shmul chay. Okay, we just didn't get up to this yet. Okay, so that's the next Mishnah. I was misreading where the question was. Says the Masdisen. Shorsha hoy mischachik b'kaisel. So you have an ox that was rubbing its body against the wall to hanasa, to scratch itself. V'nafel al adam, and because of that, the wall basically collapsed and landed on a person. So, what's the din? The animal didn't really want to kill anyone, but nischav l'haragas habehema, or let's say this case. Nischavin l'haragas habehema had the intention to kill an animal. V'haragas adam. We had this before. Or Kanani had the intention to kill a Kanaini. There's an asterisk over here. I can't find. Maybe it's all the way down here. the inhu havi pater b'dinaihu eshneschaven l'hargas zeh v'hargas zeh. Okay, v'hargas ben chayrin l'fol v'hargas ben chayama pater. So if you have a nafel, the ox intended to kill the nafel and kill the ben kayama, so pater. The animal's not put to death. So that's what we're going to end up seeing. We don't know what the word pater means, but pater maybe from damages, the animal will be to death. Okay, but it ended up killing all these different people, but it was shlo b'kavana. So this is the whole thing we've been talking about before. If an animal that killed shlo b'kavana, so in that situation, what's the din? So we had already the question whether you pay kofer. Rabbi Yochanan says you would pay kofer shlo b'kavana when it comes to a ben chayrin, and the question, does it extend itself? What's the din by an eved? But this is talking about a case of a ben chayrin in which there would be no din kofer l'chayra. We'll see. So Omer Shmuel, and Shmuel's going to hold, as we'll see, this is talking about dafka in case of a shor hamuid, patim misa. So this animal is not going to be killed. However, chai b'kaifer, right? You will still have to pay kaifer, even shlo b'kavana, which again is what Rabbi Yochanan held. V'rav omer patim mizeh. Not only is this animal not going to be killed, but it's also not going to pay kaifer. So let's go slow. Patim misa. The hole in the schavin, there was no kavana. The hamrina lekaman kamisas balam kach misas im harg kain misas hashar shaharg. You wouldn't kill if a person killed shlo b'kavana, so they may go to galus, maybe if it's a shayging, but you're not going to sentence that person to death. It was not a premeditated first degree murder, so that person's not going to be sentenced to death. So the animal will not be killed. So there's no shaila that everyone's going to be hold patim mimisa. The question is, are you also pater from paying the kaifer? So says Rashi, v'chai b'kaifer. Why did darshin kaifer im kaifer havi shlo b'kavana? As you saw in the previous Amud, it says im kaifer. It comes to include even shlo b'kavana, which is again the shita of Reish Lakish. The shita of Rav Yochanan clearly says that, and Reish Lakish, when he said his din also, it was only when it came to an eved would be pater shel b'kavana. However, when it comes to a ben chayrin yitak would be chayav b'kavana, shelo b'kavana. Okay, so that's the reason. According to him, you're pater from kaifer. You're chayav in kaifer rather, because we don't. The pasuk im kaifer is l'rabas shel b'kavana. Rav says Rashi Amar Patim Zemazeh Kedidarish Rav Le'el Asher Yisach V'Gaimer Kol Zman Sheshur B'Skilo Bal Misham and Kaifer. So what we said before was that it shouldn't say Rava, it should be Rabba. Rabba held that there's a link between kaifer and death of the ox. So if the ox is killed, so then you pay kaifer. If the animal's not killed for whatever reason, then you don't pay kaifer. So therefore, since the two are linked in the pasuk, so therefore you don't pay kaifer either. Okay, so this is the machlokas Rav and Shmuel, what the din is. And we're practicing more about my hatamhu. What are you talking about? It's a tam. So why would you even think that? Why would Shmuel even think that you have to pay kaifer? It's a tam. The Mishnah we already said, as we saw today, in the beginning of today's year, it mentioned that when it comes to a muad, you pay kaifer, but by the time you don't pay kaifer. So the answer is, Kidi Amara b'muad lipal b'nei adam b'boidais hachanam b'muad l'schachech al gabi adam b'ksalim. You're right. We're talking dafka a situation of a muad, because only when it comes to a muad shlo b'kavana, Yutaka would have to pay. However, a tam, you would not have to pay kaifer. Okay, so according to this whole machlokas is not by a tam. By a tam, you're right, you would not pay kaifer because you never pay kaifer. Over here, this is talking about a case of a shor hamuid, and the kash is not whether the animal should be killed. That certainly is pater b'misa because of shlo b'kavana. The question is, do you pay kaifer? Okay, so that's what it's talking about. If that's the truth, if that's what we're getting at, now bar katalahu. I don't understand. This is a situation, l'chayra, where he should be killed. Bishlam Hasam over there, the Chazay Yoraika Nafal. I can understand over there why not, because it saw vegetables and it fell. In other words, God, says Rashi, it's got to be shorsh and nafal al adam babor. So you have an ox that fell into a person in a pit. you can maybe say over there, we're not going to kill the animal because, as Rashi going, the chaziroi saw vegetation, manafal shlo b'kavana, and it fell without kavana. Al zeh shara esev b'toich pi habor. It saw vegetation and grass inside the pit. Ubol oichel v'nafal. It was trying to bend down and eat this vegetation, and it slipped and it fell into the pit and it killed someone inadvertently. So therefore, you can understand why the animal would not be killed. What are you going to say over here? That it was not rubbing against it in order to do damage, but it was doing it for its own hana, because it had its back that needed to be scratched. But you're right. If it had intention to do this to damage, so then Taki it would be chayiv. So I'm supposed to read the brain of an ox to know whether it's scratching its back on a wall for its hana. So the basad nafala mischachech bei. What happened was that after it fell, it started scratching. What does that mean? Says Rashi, Elohacha hoyel mudel kach mashus chamnika tachanami dechazinin leishes chachech lahanasai v'ol hapil olav. Its intention was clearly in order for hana, because after it fell down, it started scratching. So why was it scratching afterwards? It was not because it was intending to use this as a weapon to kill a person, but rather it was just because it was discomforted. And therefore you see this because it continued to do so even after it fell down. So its intention was clearly not for it to do damage, but for the animal to lose its discomfort of having this irritable itch. Question 9. Why do we have to say the cases the basar and the nafal kamaschachich? That only after the wall fell did it scratch itself, because mine. So he says it has to be that way. It says number 9. The mischachich basar the nafal scratched afterwards. The imokain manol the inimaskav lahazik, because otherwise how do we know? Maybe his intention was to actually damage, to kill. The azl mine that okay, you know what? We didn't finish this yet. So again, so the basad enough comes chachech bei as we continue to mem dal beis. Okay, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let me mark this down. It's just a din of sroirus, says Rashi. The ein kaifer kasav el b'negicha. The whole din of kaifer is only by negicha, the havi gufo mamish. So then why would he still say that you're chayiv kaifer? It's a case of stroyus. Rav Mari bereid Rav Kahana, here's the answer. The ka'azul mine, the body was pushing the wall itself all the way. So it isn't a case of stroyus, as it was the body of the animal itself, as it kept pushing against the wall until it fell to the ground the whole time, and after it fell, it continued to scratch itself. So therefore it's not a case of sroirus. This is again what 9 says. It has to be that way. So according to him, we said you're chayiv in kaifer. Shmuel says you're chayiv in kaifer, but in the case of sroirus, there's no din kaifer. Okay, now TA2. Shor shohim ischacha b'kaisim v'nafal adam l'shmuel chayiv kaifer Rav Potter. My time with the Rav, or my time with the Shmuel. So why would you say you're Potter? Why would you say you're chayiv? So Rav Potter mishum de ein hashor b'skila. Okay, that we know. And because when there's no din misa b'skila, it's linked to the kaifer. So if there's no misa, there's no kaifer. Shmuel chayiv de darshin in im kaifer l'rabba shlo b'kavana. The fact that it says im kaifer, so that extra word is l'rabbois, is coming to include shlo b'kavana. That was TA2 on Mem Dalid Omid Aleph. Okay. I think this is the exact same question. TB3. Let's just look at it. Mem Dalid Omid Aleph. Shor shehizik shelo b'kavana him chayiv. And we didn't get to this yet. Shor shehizik. Okay, so this is talking about an animal that killed. Okay, vayt. Tani kavasa de Shmuel. So we're going to have a brisa, which is going to be in support of Shmuel. In the case of a shor hamuid that was rubbing itself against the wall, even after it fell, even though it's not so mochach from the Gemara, it says because of a nafal al adam, which means it was rubbing, it fell. Obviously, that's what caused the fall, but it continued to rub on the wall. So you're pater from, according to Shmuel, misa, but you still have to pay kaifer. And we're going to now support that thought right now, which will be end up being tufti on Rav, who says you're pater from kaifer, yesh chayev b'misa uva kaifer. Obviously, sometimes the animal will be killed and the man will pay kaifer. Yesh chayev b'kaifer upater b'misa, which is going to be a pretty strong point over here. There's some times in which you'll have to pay kaifer, but you won't have the animal killed. So there's all four possibilities. So haketzad. So the easiest one is muad b'kavana chai b'misa b'kaifer. If you have a shor muad that has every intention to kill and it kills, so we have to kill the animal, and of course the owner pays kaifer. But here's the key right here, like Shmuel. Muad shlo b'kavana. Let's say it was a muad, shor muad, but it killed without intention. So then is chayev b'kaifer pater b'misa, which is exactly like Shmuel, which is obviously kasha on Rav. The other way around, tam b'kavana. If you have a tam animal, even though it killed with kavana, chayev b'misa, we said we don't make any distinction. You still have to kill the animal, but pater b'kaifer. There's no din kaifer when it comes to a tam, but you still kill the animal. Tam shel b'kavana. If you have a tam shel b'kavana, pater b'mizeh. Okay. Fine. So again, that in itself is a kasha on Rav. Weiter. V'hanizokin shel b'kavana. This is what I was reading before. When it comes to damages, this is going to be This will be TB3. Shor shehizik shel b'kavana. So what's the din when it comes to that? TB3. When it comes to v'hanizokin shel b'kavana. So an ox injures a person without kavana. So Rabbi Yehuda mechayev, Rabbi Shimon pater. So Yehuda says you're chayev, Rabbi Shimon says you're pater. L'chayr from damages. Okay, there's no din kaifer. The person wasn't killed, so this is l'chayr talking about damages. So my time Rabbi Yehuda. Why would Rabbi Yehuda taka say that you're chayev, which seems logical? Yelach mekaifer. Ma kaifer shel b'kavana chayev av hanizokin nami shel b'kavana chayev. Because what he does, Rabbi Yehuda says that just like kaifer, when it comes to kaifer, it doesn't make a difference. Even without kavana, you're still chayiv kaifer, which again is in accordance to the sheet of Shmuel, as again another proof to Shmuel. So hanizakin, even if it was shel b'kavana, you're also chayiv. So that's the reason. Just like kaifer, you're chayiv shel b'kavana, so to nizikin is no difference. Rav Shimon yolaf mikatli the shore. Rav Shimon learns it out from the killing of the animal. Ma katli shel b'kavana pater, avnizakin shel b'kavana pater. He says, let's look at the animal itself. If we're not going to kill the animal, shelo b'kavana, you don't have to pay damages also. So that's the svaras hamachlokas. Question TB3. Shor shehizik shelo b'kavana hi mechayev ma'astadim b'zeh. So he says like this: Rabbi Yehuda mechayev the medam letashlumi kaiver shechayev af shelo b'kavana. Rabbi Shimon hoyt the medam lemisasa the pater shelo b'kavana. Okay, good. Weiter. So Rabbi Yehuda naminil mikatli. I understand. Rabbi Yehuda, why don't you warn out from case of killing the animal? When it comes to an animal that kills shelo b'kavana, you don't kill the animal, so maybe you shouldn't have to pay damages either. No, domin tashlumin tashlumin. I'd rather compare money to money, kaifer to damages, which is both money. Ve'ein danin tashlumin memisa. So Rabbi Shimon naminil mikaifro. Why don't you learn out from kaifer that the din is that even shelo b'kavana you have to pay kaifer, so to over here you have to pay. No, done in chiyuv v'deshor mechiyuv v'deshor. We compare the obligations of the ox itself. The ox is obligated to be killed. The ox, because of its damages, you have to pay. When it comes to kaifer, that's something which is on the baal. Okay. In all these situations where you have the animal that killed with an intention to kill, but it had the intention to kill someone in which in itself would not be a chiyuv misa, or the punishments of kaifer wouldn't apply. So in that situation, you're pater. Okay. So, which is mashma. It's only because it was trying to kill a nafel and kill a ben kayama? What if his intention was to kill person A, but instead he killed person B? Based on that, Yutaka would be chayiv. So Masnisa the look Rav Shimon. The sign Rav Shimon Aimer, a different person would be potter. My time Rav Shimon. Why would he say that? They still had the intention to kill a bar kayama. The Yomer Kra Hashari Sakel. It says that the ox is killed. The gam ball of yumas. So why do we say that? Obviously, we don't kill the person. The person has to be kaifer. But the reason is to teach us this drasha. Kamisas balam kach misas ashor. Ma balim. When it comes to a person that kills, Adam is chavinle until he had intention to kill this person. If when it comes to a person, I wanted to kill person A, and instead I killed person B, that could be a form of manslaughter or something, but it's not going to be something which I would be sentenced to death from. So avshor nami Adam is chavinle. It's the same thing when it comes to ashor. Ubam gufayu minol. How do the person we potter if he intended to kill person A, but he killed person B? You recall the pasuk says the arav love become love. This is the ambushed him. That was like he had an intention to kill this person. Actually, is chavin loy. It says v'arav lo. Dafka him. You only want to ambush this person, which means if somehow you end up killing someone else, you'll be potter. V'rabanan have v'arav lo mayavdilei. This pasuk seems to show that you'd be potter. The Rabbanan is chaylik with the sheet of Rav Shimon. So what do they do with this pasuk? So Amid Barav Yanai Prat. In the situation where a person would throw a rock in a crowd, in that situation you're going to be potter. Certainly not going to be chayev because the roiv are kananim, and it's not a death penalty for doing that. Inami pala it was 50-50, suffering the fush as a hakel. So we're not going to send you to death for that either. Even though the high majority of the people are Yisraelim, the people that you would be sentenced to death for, the Avla, the Reuben Yisraelim, who, and then you would think because it's bus, we'd go bust a roy, and therefore you'd be killed. Since it was one kanaini, so therefore in that situation would be potter. Says the next Mishnah, Masnisan. Shor ha'isha v'shor ha'yisayimim. If you have an ox that belongs to a woman, or for that matter, to orphans, shor ha'apitropos, or you have an ox that is by an apitropos. Now, the case of the yisayimim, Rashi says, this person either do not have a guardsman, they don't have an apitropos, or the case of the shor apitropos shel yisayimim. It could be that the apitropos belongs to the assignment, but it's the apitropos' responsibility to watch it. Weiter. This is the line that we're going to be focusing more attention on. Shor hamidbar, shore of the desert. Shor hahektish, shor hager, shemes, a shore of a ger, and that ger died, the anal yarshin, which basically means it's a hefker animal. Hari elu chayav and misa. Doesn't make any difference, even though there's no person to pay the kofar. Nonetheless, the animal will still be killed for killing. Rabbi Huda Omer says, Shor hamidbar, Shor hahektish, Shor hager. These last cases, shemes. If this animal killed, paturin min amisa, lefi shein lehen balim. For some reason, he holds it's necessary that there has to be a baal, there has to be an owner of this ox. If there's no owner, that's a free, ownerless ox running around, and it kills, that we're not going to kill that animal. Okay. We'll see the Gemara and understand this better. Says the Gemara, Tanaban, Shor, Shiva, Lahavi, Shor. So it says Shor, Zion. What does that mean? 7. It says Rashi, Zion, Shor, Ksuvin, Beparsha, Benegech Adam. There's 7 times it mentions the word shore. Apparently it's a pretty important word, very common word. But we know that words are not mentioned for no reason. There must be something to learn from it. So Lahavi, it's coming to include a shor isha, shor ha'yisaimim, shor apitropos, shor hamidbar, shor hektish, a shor of a hager shemes in lo yarshim. That sounds like 6. And I guess the other one is maybe just Ladrasha. Okay. Rabbi Huda Omer, Shor HaMidbar, Shor HaHektish, Shor Hager, Shemei Seino Yoshim, Paturim and Amisa, Vish Elohim Balam. So the last 3, again, is a machlokas in our Mishnah. Rav Huna. Poiter Hayu Rabbi Huda, So when Rabbi Yehuda says this leniency that this animal is potter, which means from being killed, is a field nogach l'seif hikdish. Even in the situation we had this before, the case of shor hamyuchadim. So we had three different pshatim. So one teretz was hefker, v'tafis. But but according to this, if you have a shor and it's yours, you own this animal, and it gored, you say you're makdash it right afterwards. Or nogach l'seif hifker, you're mafker the animal. What's the din? So what does he hold? Well, chayra, he would come to include even in those situations that you would maybe even in those situations you would be potter. Mamai made a tiny tarti. Shor hamidbar, shor hager, shor shemes vein lo yorshim. So all these cases. So shor midbar, shor hager shemes vein lo yorshim. Fine. Shor hager shemes. Mainihu. What exactly does that mean? How do we understand this? You have an ox that belonged to a person who was a convert. He had no wife, he had no children afterwards, and then the man died. So mainihu. Yarshim havili shor hefker. What are we talking about? We're talking about a case of an ownerless ox. Why do we have to paint this picture, this whole dramatic story? You have a convert, and then he didn't have children. Just say it's an ownerless ox. After all, it's what it already says in the Mishnah L'chara. Kind of shor hamidbar. It says you have an ox that's running around the wilderness, which obviously means it's hefker. Hainu shor hager shemes ve'enu yarshim. L'chara, it's the exact same case, right? There's really no chiddush whatsoever. El lav hakamashmon diafil nagel l'sav hikdish nagel l'sav hifker shma mina. It must be coming to tell you, says Rashi, Hadar Tana Shor Hager, why does he mention that case of a convert? It means V'ach al Gab de Nogach B'chai Ger. It means even though in the lifetime of the ger the animal gored, umes, and then the man died, I believe hefker potter, and now it becomes hefker. It's still potter. 1 second, it wasn't hefker when it damaged. When it damaged, it had an owner. The ger, the convert, was the owner of this animal. So why do we say that this animal's potter? Must be, this is the drasha. This is a beautiful shot. That it must be talking about this situation that the animal did damage while it did have an owner. But if the owner there afterwards would decide to be mafkarit, then taki would be potter. So that's a chiddush that even Rabbi Yehuda would say in that situation that you would be potter, even in case of nagach l'seif hifker, or same thing, nagach l'seif hekdish. Either way, you're renouncing ownership. Shema mina. Tamini hachi. And by the way, it's a brilliant move if you think about it. If let's say it's a shor move which you pay min haliyah, the best thing you can do is just immediately be mafker the animal. Tanya mihachi. Yes, okay, Rabbi Yehuda, more than this, Rabbi Yehuda says, I feel nagel l'seif hekdish, nagel l'seif hifker potter. Beferish. Shneimar v'huad b'bal v'hemis v'gaimer. Actually, misa v'hamad b'din shavin ke'achad. And the Gemara always says the same shak v'tarya. It has to be that the misa of the animal and the hamad b'din has to be at the same. That has to be ke'achad, namely with one owner. Oh, v'gamar din lo bina, not by the verdict. Gemara always says this shak v'tarya. I have a hashar sakel. Gemar dinhu. So you're right. El ema achad he misa v'hamad b'din v'gamar din. Shavin ke'achad. Not just the beginning of the court case, the end of the court case has to be that the owner there has to be the same owner. There has to be this owner. If it would be mafker, then it would be potter. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's question 10. He's potter. So the chiddush is if you nagach l'seif hikdish, nagach l'seif hifker potter, because that's probably the way we painted it. Sounds a lot like the case of the ger. Adkan.